Hello and welcome back to Highway to Hoover, a production of SEC Extra over at d1baseball.com. I'm your host, Joe Healy, coming to you ahead of an episode where Mark and I will talk to Oklahoma head baseball coach Skip Johnson. Fun conversation with Skip. Full disclosure, we just recorded it. I'm recording this intro after the fact, but had a lot of fun talking to Skip. We got into some specific roster stuff for this Oklahoma team. We got into some big picture stuff about not just their team, but the move to the SEC. We talked about some facility stuff. We got into some philosophy, touched a lot of stuff in a conversation that took about a half hour. We really got into it with him and had a lot of fun. Came on to do this intro, though, before we get started there to let you know that this episode of Highway to Hoover and every episode of Highway to Hoover is brought to you by Pitch Logic, the system used by players, coaches, scouts, and instructors at all levels of play, from youth leagues to the big leagues. The easy-to-use and affordable technology makes the platform accessible to every player at every level. All the metrics and features used at the highest level. See pitchlogic.com for more information. All right, so without further ado, let's get to the conversation between me, Mark Etheridge, and Oklahoma head baseball coach Skip Johnson. Hello and welcome back to Highway to Hoover, a production of SEC Extra over at d1baseball.com. I'm your host, Joe Healy, joined this week not only by my co-host Mark Etheridge, but also Oklahoma head baseball coach Skip Johnson. Excited to talk about the Sooners, their move to the SEC, talk about the team they've got on the field this fall, talk about some big picture stuff with the program. They've got some exciting things happening on campus at Oklahoma. So a lot of stuff to get into with Skip. So let's jump right in. And first, Skip, I appreciate you joining us today.
You guys, thanks for the opportunity.
We're excited to have you in the SEC. So we're kind of looking forward to seeing what that looks like. But I want to go back to when you first kind of got the news that you guys were going to the SEC. What was your initial reaction once that set in that move was going to happen?
Well, I'm excited. First and foremost, for the University of Oklahoma. I mean, it's one of the best conferences, if not the best conference in the country. But I was excited for our baseball program because the baseball in the SEC is really good. And so I think if you look at the draft picks and you look at things that are going to really help young men, it's a separator. And I think that's the biggest key for us is just continue to grow and get better and not worry so much about the outcome, but just trying to get better every day, the process.
Well, Skip, I mean, you guys had a lot of success. College World Series finalists, you won the Big 12. I mean, but a lot of diehard SEC fans don't, this is our first time to really zero in on Oklahoma as a program. What should the fans of SEC baseball, what should they know about your program?
I think the character and how we go about our business day in and day out. I mean, it's a process of playing hard. We're going to play hard. We're going to be really competitive, and I think we're a gritty team. Kind of the culture is like that here, and so I think that's the biggest thing. And just try to put some excitement in how we play the game and go about playing the game.
Do you perceive there to be any specific on-field difference between the product at the Big 12 level and the SEC level?
No, probably not. I mean, baseball's baseball. I mean, it's still
Right.
60 feet 6 inches, and it's about playing hard. It's about respecting the game the way the game teaches you to respect it. And I think the difference in the SEC and probably the Big 12, or maybe the environment you play in, it was. I was a junior college coach for 16 years and got the opportunity to coach at the University of Texas for 10 years, and I've been here for 9. And that environment, it'll help kids play better, and it also, they've got to understand being in control of themselves and trying to make sure where they can slow the game down. And so I think that's the biggest thing going into the SEC. The difference between the Big 12 and the SEC is really the fan base is a lot bigger in the SEC. Not that the Big 12. I mean, I was in it a long time. I mean, I can remember one year we had 3 teams in Omaha. And so it's the Big 12 is good baseball too. I mean, they play with pride, and the SEC is just a bigger environment. Is a step up in the environment. Not really the baseball as much. Maybe the pitching first, going, the depth of the pitching might be a little bit different in the SEC compared to the Big 12, I don't know yet. I mean, just by looking at the teams we've played in the past is a separator. That we played Tennessee early last year. You could see the difference in their pitching and in their everyday players, and compared to we've played LSU, we've played Auburn, we've played Mississippi State, we've played Florida. I mean, when we were at University of Florida, it was a riot, man, in that regional. I mean, you got guys screaming and yelling at you, and then we had a 3-hour rain delay, and it was packed even more people after the 3-hour rain delay. So, I mean, it's we're really excited and looking forward to it.
Well, let's talk about your fall. I know you probably had some expectations going into the fall. As you, I don't know if you guys are done or close to being done. What did you learn based on what you expected to learn?
I think the biggest thing for us is like looking at going into our fall, Mark, is I don't really ever put an expectation on a player or how we're going to go about the fall. I think if you put an expectation on it, then you have a failure. Because you can't expect somebody to be better than they are, to be worse than we thought they were going to be, or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing for us is losing. We lost over 65% of our offense from last year, and over 55% of pitching. So going into that year, just trying to get everybody on the same page. We got about a week and a half left, and just trying to get everybody on how we play the game, what kind of culture, how we do it on the mound, all those little simple things we're trying to continually to grow in daily as we go, how we practice and how we go about our business every day. And it'll get even what's amazing about our world of baseball that we live in today, you can practice and be really good in the fall, and they can learn something. Well, they got a month that they're not even around us. And in the spring, they forget about it. I mean,
reset.
It's like I think a lot of people don't bring this up, Mark and Joe. I don't think they even think about this. It takes you 12 to 14 months to build a house, right? And we're trying to build a baseball team with 45 minutes a day for most of the fall, and then 30 days we have where we can practice 20 hours a week. You can't build a house that fast.
Right.
How hard is it going to be to build a baseball team? So your leadership from your older guys that are here is really big. You've got to really have some good leaderships, and you have to really got to make sure that they talk and they help the other guys. Put them under their wing and kind of help them get along through the fall. And we've had some older guys that helped us on the pitching side of it. And in the middle of the field, we have an Easton and Jackson back and Walk back, and it kind of helped our offense. And it's still, it's not a finished product by no means. And we're still trying to, get better in every facet of the game, whether it's pitching, whether it's defense or whether it's offense. And so I think that's the things that we got to continue to grow in. And the thing about baseball is you got to spend your own time on it, because it demands you to do that. If you don't do that, baseball is really a game of opportunity. It's not a game of failure. It's a game of opportunity. And you've got to practice it. It demands you to practice it. And the guys that practice it and put it in a process, and you've got to practice it physically, and you got to practice it mentally. And if you don't do those things, then you're gonna struggle in it.
One guy who certainly seems like he's doing all those right things because of the results is Kyson Witherspoon, who's going to go into next season as one of the most highly anticipated pitchers in terms of seeing what he's going to do in the SEC. What was behind him taking the jump that he did, and how excited are you to have him back on the mound next season?
Getting him from Northwest Florida, and from a junior college, him and his brother, and how they go about their business on a daily basis is pretty fun to watch. I mean, they understand it, and then they got the opportunity. I'll never forget that. It was like calling a guy to the big leagues. I called both of them in here and told them they're going with Team USA, even though Team USA was only 2 weeks. It still helped them, and it
right.
And those things they matured from that from that little break that they had and that little time that they spent with Team USA, they matured a lot and continue to grow and get better. I mean, it's really fun to watch them go about their business because they work extremely hard at it, and they understand the process of, number one, taking care of their body, number two, getting mentally prepared. And it's been fun to be around those young men and watch them grow.
Skip, I wanted to ask you about Cam Johnson. I saw him in the fall at LSU last year, and he was electric, man. I just assumed he was going to be the next great breakout star for them, and had trouble finding the zone and ended up not playing a key role for them. Now he's getting a reset with you guys. What have you seen from him so far? Certainly, he's a fascinating prospect.
Yeah, I mean, he is really probably one of the funnest guys I've worked with, and I've worked with some great guys, and he's really a fun guy to work with. It's just trying to put a structured plan in for a lot of places. I've been at the University of Texas, and we signed great ones that didn't end up making it out, and just a change of venue, a change of scenery for him. And I just try to simplify it and make sure he understands, in buckets like his process of his arm care, his maintenance program. How good are you in your maintenance program? Then can you repeat your delivery? How good are you can you repeat your delivery? And then go to, how good are you at your mental game? Are you in control yourself? Or are you out of control yourself? And then the fourth one, how do you handle the game management, and start really working on all four of those deals. And sometimes he might be better in one or the other, and they struggle. And I think he's understood that as he's gone through it, and just trying to simplify it for him, because you can only learn one thing at a time in this game. And everybody wants those guys to all of a sudden, they watch the talent he has. God made him great. So if I got to be able to put a structured plan where he can think about that clearly and understand it. For if they don't think about it clearly, they'll never learn it. I don't care how good they are, and you just kind of give them pieces and let them go for a couple of weeks, give them another piece, let them go for a couple of weeks. The same thing I kind of did with Kyson and kind of did with Malachi. And I'm really proud of Malachi right now. Malachi has been really good so far this fall, and just to see his growth is just been amazing.
I think this is a little bit of a related question. When you have a highly regarded freshman, like when Cam Johnson was at LSU last year, you've got Drew Dickerson this year where everybody knows about him. You can recruit the heck out of these guys, but until you get them on campus and get a longer look at them, I imagine there's a period of time where you're evaluating, where are they? What do they need from us? On the physical and the mental side of it. So tell me a little bit about that process where you've got someone who is as talented as those guys are, and yet you still got to figure out, how do I put them in the best position to be successful?
Well, number one, when you bring a young man in like Drew Dickerson, or you bring in Cam Johnson, or those guys that are really talented as freshmen, number one, they get taken out of an environment that they were really good in, and they come into an environment where a lot of people are good, just as good, if not better than them, and not older. And so then you've got to really understand, hey, they're used to going, hey, I'm going to go take batting practice. I'm going to go hang out with my girlfriend. I'm going to go do this, play video game, and I'm going to go do this. Well, you start seeing, hey, you're going to show up at the weight room at this time. You're going to go to study hall at this time. You don't know how they respond to that. So you've got to really make sure it's clear to them and really communicate with them as they go through that, to make it where they get comfortable. You want those guys as comfortable as you can early. You want to really show them how much you care before you show them how much you know. And then they'll start blossoming. They'll start, trying to figure out, hey, is this guy really a shortstop? Is he an outfielder? Is he a relief pitcher, or is he a starter? Because most of those guys you get out of high school, they've been the Tuesday starter, the Friday starter, and all of a sudden you just want them to go out and go through the lineup one time on the mound. And you've got to talk to them, and you've got to, hey, I'm going to simplify it. We're just going to throw fastball, breaking ball, or, we're not going to go 3 pitches, or we're only going through the lineup one time. And so you just got to make sure you communicate with them, and it's clear to what their role is on the team. whether it's a break, come off and pinch hit. And sometimes they accept that role, and sometimes it's not clear to them. Then they start getting, they start fighting it a little bit, and they struggle a little bit, and you kind of try to bring them back in and go, hey, look, man, look, this is what we're going to do. This is going to help you. You're going to be a really good player. Let's not jump ahead of time. It's almost like probably bringing a guy that all of us think we saw him in the SEC tournament in Omaha, and we think, oh, he can pitch in the big leagues that fast. But he's got to go through that maturation process of going through A ball, double A, triple A into the big leagues.
Right.
Yeah. You mentioned some returnees coming back, but a whole lot of newcomers that you're going to depend on to play key roles. Could you take us through some of those maybe interesting position battles that you've had this fall that will go into spring?
Yeah, we have a kid named Taki at first base, him and Christensen at first base a little bit, trying to mix in and out. Dawson Willis trying to get comfortable. A kid named Hamlin that's trying to get comfortable. Dickerson the same way. We've got two catchers, Mudler and Carmichael, and we've got a freshman catcher named Hanson that's really played really good this fall, and just trying to get those guys comfortable and how we run our offense. And on the mound side of it, you look at a kid named Catalano that's a freshman out of Dallas. It's been really, really good. And you look at Roddy, a kid that's been really good. We have a transfer named Dylan Tate that came in. We had to shut down. He has a little stress reaction, so we shut him down. He's really good early. I mean, really good early. And another kid named Kay Crossland from Weatherford Junior College, left-hander battling. Golston's been really good. I mean, there's a good example of a young man that was really good out of high school that came in and he scuffled a little bit, and so we try to get him some innings. He still scuffled a little bit. Summer was really big for him. He's been really good this fall. So, it's going to be interesting to fight for who's fighting for that Sunday to Tuesday row in there, because what people don't realize about college baseball, and it's unfortunate, it's really unfortunate in Division I baseball that a Tuesday game is an RPI game and you have to win. You can't, it's hard to develop players, even though we look in professional baseball, and I would say 50-something% of all teams or major league teams have college players on it. And so we're doing the development side of it a lot, and so we've got to figure out a way that we can develop these young men and help the retainment of staying at our place, because it's, from those guys to jump from high school to Division I SEC baseball, it's really tough for them. And it's like jumping from high college straight to Double A. I mean, Double A is really good, man. They're taking a lot of guys to big leagues from Double A, so it's making that jump. It's the difference, and I think we've got to continue to try to press forward and try to figure out our game itself. I always look at my role as a coach is to to teach them. I love to win. Don't get me wrong, but I'm more about the process of teaching him to be ready with, be a good father, good husband, whatever it takes to when he leaves my program and leaves our program, that they understand how to work and how to go about their business, their manners, and everything that they do. And I think that's very important. And to look at that we've got to continue to grow as coaches the game itself, because, man, it's I hate to say it, baseball's kind of dying a little bit, man. I was in the barbershop this morning. You guys talked about it the very deal, and I was excited to hear some old guys in there talking about they watched the baseball game last night. And that was exciting to me, because a lot of people don't watch baseball anymore, and it bothers me a lot because of sometimes it is the product, but we've got to continue to figure out how to grow our game, and even in college, the growth is really important to me.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, exciting World Series game last night. Not if you're a fan of team defense, though. The Yankees, not a great fifth inning.
It's a bad inning.
for the Angels.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the game itself. I mean,
Right.
we
Right.
talked, the
Mhm.
game's an imperfect game. It's not perfect.
Yeah.
And that's what's awesome about it. That's what's awesome about it.
Yeah. Agreed. I'm curious your thoughts on this, given your pitching background. You mentioned pitchers there that I saw. I saw Crossland on the Cape. I saw Golston in the Appy League. Obviously, we know what Cam Johnson, the Witherspoon brothers, what they bring to the table. When you're building out a pitching staff, obviously you got to have, to a certain degree, you got to have stuff. You got to have the mental makeup. How much emphasis are you putting on? We want to give a lot of different looks to the opponent, because it strikes me when you're rattling off those names, that's a lot of different looks you're going to give a hitter in a given game.
Well, I think you have to look at that for sure. There's no doubt about that. But the things that I try to key on is, number one, you got to be able to throw strikes. We got to be able to throw strikes. You got to be able to throw a secondary pitch for a strike. You have to be able to hold runners, and you got to be able to field your position. Those things that you got to be able to do to pitch. When they leave here, I want those guys to understand that. It's I'm telling you right now, I changed a deal this year that I've never done before in PFP. I mean, if you look at baseball in itself, every good pitcher has been a shortstop, And so what I did is I changed PFP this year for the first time. I have a deal where it makes it game like, but then when we're doing it, we're just rolling the ball out there in that one drill. So I made it. We put a pit. It's going to go viral, I think. I've got a pitchback neck, a square one, but I've got a triplex coming where you throw it and you got to get it off the mound. You get dynamic, shorten your throw up, and you're throwing to a target. I think those things are very, very beneficial. They've got to play dynamic. How many pitchers you see get a comebacker and they run it over and they throw it underhand?
Right.
I mean, you don't walk to you don't go to a perfect game event in World Bat League, like in Atlanta, and the little leaguers are playing hot box anymore. You don't see that, or they're playing cut baseball. You just don't see it anymore, And so the catch play, we have video games. They're smart now. These young men that we're coaching, they want to know why, they want to know where. They're really smart. They're more computer oriented, how they communicate. And a lot of times we'll talk about them. Hey, you've got to talk on the field. You've got to talk on the field. You can't text a guy or Snapchat him. You got to talk to him like, hey, man, I'm playing this guy to pull, move over here. I mean, those things are important. And I totally agree. I mean, we've got to continue to do those things.
Skip, you talked about how much you enjoy the development aspect of your job. How do you balance growing that freshman, that young player, versus bringing in, quote, a ready-made player from the portal to try to keep your roster balanced and your team competitive?
Well, I think the biggest thing is they got to be. I mean, I don't think there's any ready-made player out of the portal, because then they got to come into your culture and figure out how you kind of go about your business, how you run your offense, or I think those guys got to get acclimated to your program and how you coach and how you teach and you go about it. The growth is really big for me. I think the process is where it's at. A lot of guys, I don't want you to be so concerned about proving how good you are, because we wouldn't have offered you a scholarship. We gave you an opportunity to come here for you to prove yourself. Now let's just focus on the growth. If you focus on the growth, then the proven's going to take care of itself. And so I think that's where we lose sight in a lot of what we try to do. Now, is everybody going to be happy in our clubhouse? No. I mean, it's just the life we live in your business. I mean, it's in our business too. They're not going to be happy. Everybody wants to be the Friday night starter and everybody wants to play every day. But can you be a piece of the puzzle? Can you be the spark plug of the engine, or can you be the gas, or can you be the belt of the engine, or can you just be a part of it? Because when 20 years from now and you won a World Series, when you get back together, nobody's going to talk about they're not going to talk about, hey, man, did you see him? He got that big hit in the 6-0. They're going to talk about the fun times that they had in the dugout, or the times that they had away from the field. That's what they're going to talk about. Or do you remember Coach getting on this guy's ass about something? I mean, it's what it is.
Yeah. As we start to wrap up with you here, Coach, and we appreciate your time with us today. You've got some big things happening on campus, working towards a renovation project at your ballpark. Got some money coming in for that. Obviously, just curious your thoughts on that, how big a deal it is, how excited are you to see that change coming as you guys, as you mentioned, move up into a league where the atmospheres are just on a different level?
Yeah, I mean, that's the exciting part is, I mean, we had a big donor that Brian Kimry gave us a lot of money. We got to still raise some more money to improve our facilities. When a young man walks in here, he's going to walk in here and look at your facilities. Unfortunately, they do that. It's really unfortunate because really the guts of the program matter 10 times more than the facilities.
Right.
It just does. And we've got to try to keep up with the teams that are in our conference. I mean, are we going to have a facility like some of these others? No. But if we have an adequate facility that's going to have resources that help every one of our players grow, that's what we need. And it can't be outdated. It's got to be dated. In our conference, and we've got to be able to show some revenue. Like our berm was packed last year every time. We were set a record in attendance last year. So the sport, what I'm excited about it more so than anything is our fan base is really good and it cares a lot, and it's growing and growing and growing because of the product and the passion that we played with. It's like that song, David Allan Coe's song, "The Ride." Have you ever listened to it?
Yeah.
Can you make
Yes.
can you make people cry when you play and sing?
Yeah.
You're that good at playing baseball, and you play with so much pride. Win or lose, you play with so much pride. They want to drive hours to watch you play. That's when you get the true respect of the game itself. You know, I mean,
Yeah.
when you watched, what's the guy that passed away, Fernandez, that died in a boat accident with Miami?
Yeah. Jose Fernandez. Yeah.
Jose Fernandez. When you watch that guy play, you watch with the passion that guy played with. You know, you felt what he felt on the field. That's when, if you can maintain that focus in every player. Like, I want you to go out there and be so passionate. Like when you watch John Spikerman play, you knew.
Yeah.
When you watch Kay Cavalli or Jake Irvin or any of these guys that are on here, when you watch those guys pitch and watch those guys play, or Jimmy Crooks, you knew, man. You knew those guys had a passion, had a will, and that's what it's really about.
Yeah. A couple of
One more.
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask you the home SEC schedule. I mean, your marketing people they're probably pretty excited about it. I don't know how excited you are. You got the last 4 national title winners coming in plus Texas. That I think you ought to be able to sell a few tickets based on that, right?
Yeah, I'm excited about it. I mean, Mark, the game doesn't define my identity. It doesn't. So
Yeah.
I mean, if we go 0 for whatever it is, I mean, am I going to worry about it? No, I'm not going to worry about it. Am I going to lose sleep over it? Maybe a little bit. Depends on how we go about playing the game. I'm not. It doesn't define. If that defines my identity, I'm just going to go deer hunting and go fishing. I'm dead serious, because
Yeah.
I want those young men to have an experience. I mean, it's about them having an experience. It really is, and I really strive for it. Do I hate losing? Damn right, I hate it worse than anybody. But if we play the game hard and get after it, I'm all in. And with bringing all those teams in here, it's going to be fun. It's going to provide an atmosphere that's going to help Kay Crossland, Kyson Witherspoon, Cam Johnson, Malachi, all the freshman pitchers that we have. It's going to help those. It's going to make those guys better and make them grow. It's what it's going to do.
Yeah, it's a great home slate. It really is.
They didn't do us any favors.
That's for darn sure.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be snowing when they come in here. See how much they like it.
Yeah,
maybe home field it'll be raining or tornadoes, and see if they'll not. Yeah, who knows? It doesn't matter. I mean, it's a baseball game. We're going to get after it, and they're going to get after it. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt about that. Mark and I are excited to see it. We're excited to get out to Norman to experience that atmosphere this coming season. So looking forward to seeing the Sooners on the field. Ben, once again, Oklahoma head baseball coach Skip Johnson, we appreciate you joining us today. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, you guys come a day earlier, we'll take you pig hunting.
Don't threaten me with a good time, Coach. Appreciate it, Coach. Talk to you later.
Yeah, you guys have a great day. All right.
All right.
Thanks for the opportunity. Bye-bye.
Sure.
All right, there you have it. Our conversation with me, Mark, and Skip Johnson. Like I said, had a lot of fun talking to Skip. I'm really excited to see what Oklahoma brings to the SEC in 2025. I do think there'll be an adjustment. Skip mentioned some of the differences. Maybe the pitching's a little bit deeper. I just think generally the SEC as a league, a little bit deeper. Mark alluded to the tough schedule. I mean, every schedule in the SEC is tough these days. That's just the reality of it. But they got a particularly tough draw in some ways. So interesting to see how they deal with that, the improved depth in the SEC. But I will say, and Mark and I have talked about this, that we're bullish on Oklahoma generally, which is in the SEC, which is maybe not what we would have said when this news first broke, because when we first learned they were going to the SEC, that was before they got one win, or a couple wins away from winning a national title. That was before they won the Big 12 again in their last year in the Big 12. So they've done a lot of things to set themselves up for success. And I think they've done just about all they can to set them up for success. The last few years have been extremely successful. They continue to put a ton of guys into pro ball. They continue to recruit very well. We talked about Drew Dickerson, but obviously the Witherspoon brothers were a huge get before last year. We talked about Cam Johnson as a possible high impact transfer guy right away. So and the facility stuff, right? It sounds like they still have some work to do to get that all, completed and underway. But with that coming, it's obviously going to make things even better there in Norman. And so they've just checked all the boxes they need to check to get ready for the SEC. And now they just have to go do it. And there might be some growing pains. There might be an adjustment, but I no longer feel the way I did a few years ago about like Oklahoma might be jumping in the deep end and it might take a while for them to kind of get it sorted. I don't feel that way anymore. I think this is going to be a team that's competitive right away. I think it's going to be a program in the big picture that's going to be competitive right away in the SEC. And competitive can mean a lot of things. We'll have to see what exactly that means in this SEC, but certainly I am excited to see it. That is going to do it for this edition of the Highway to Hoover podcast, a production of SEC Extra over at d1baseball.com. Want to thank once again Skip Johnson for joining us on this episode. Want to thank Mark Etheridge for joining me on this and every episode. Thank you to Pitch Logic for sponsoring the Highway to Hoover podcast, and thank